Alrighty, here's my review of the Metabones electronic ND to locking EF adapter. My ecosystem is 95% EF mount, with 75% being manual focus lenses. So I would give it an 8 out of 10 in terms of convenience. If you're looking for video autofocus, it ain't gonna happen. Currently, the out-of-the-box firmware, there is 0 video autofocus. To start with, the FX3 is not my main A camera, so it stays really slimmed down. The small rig cage, the 15mm single rail modified RS2 bottom plate, no handle, no V-mount. I used to have an HDMI saver clamp, but you'll see why that's not there anymore in a second. In my testing, you just got to shift your FX3's white balance by about -200 and -3G, which is minus screen, and your client editing the footage won't notice a color shift. Using the electronic ND adapter, here are the body notes on the FX3. The display is daylight viewable. The bottom is not flush with the body. You lose access to this user button. My small rig cage needed to be shaved down in order to mount the electronic ND. Fortunately, the adapter barely fits around the 15mm rod when installing. Fortunately, I did not capture on video, the adapter can be removed with the tripod plate on the FX3 body. Unfortunately, the XLR handle is in the way. Unfortunately, my Sony receiver, the P41D, is also in the way. Unfortunately, you cannot mount it on locking E-mounts like the FX9. Unfortunately, you cannot mount it onto the Mark I of the FS7. Maybe it can mount on the FX6. There is a YouTuber who did a really nice video with his thoughts on the adapter. Watching it was like drinking a hot chocolate after having just unloaded a box truck in the freezing rain, or like enjoying a French vanilla iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts on a hot, humid summer day, stuck in traffic with no AC.
So you can scroll through your NDs freely outside, and then when you enter a darker environment, all you have to do is flip the switch, and now the NDs are gone.
Now, actually using the adapter really was a wonderful change over using filters and variable NDs. I can adjust the exposure without my fingers crossing the frame or jiggling the gimbal. It felt very natural. Here is an example of the adapter being used on my gimbal with a fizz and a teradek and USB power, and the timecode jammed on the gimbal. It looked like a mess, but it worked fine. My negatives are the following. 1 out of 10 times, it did lock up my FX3, but it was really easy to unmount. It is a bit of a dust magnet. The knob is the opposite direction, like a broadcast lens, where down means opening the iris. There's an orb, or a visible rainbow flare.
Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
As an example seen here with the Sigma Art 24-70 2.8, the EF version, obviously. The rainbow is also still there across all makes of lenses. Out of the box, the Sigma EF lenses were really firm to mount. Out of the box, almost all of the SimMod EF mounts were unable to mount, but I shaved the eND mount down to make them fit. This is important because the adapter will not turn on unless the lock mount is beyond a certain point. After I did shave the eND mount, the Sigma EF art lenses mounted very nicely. A YouTuber online saw my videos and asked about polarizers and VNDs in front of this electronic ND, and I really didn't see anything unusual other than like cheap polarizers have their own color shift, cheap variable NDs have their own color shift. I did not get a chance to test this in front of a computer screen. The next glaring unknown is I cannot predictably specify the focal length for the FX3's IBIS, in-body stabilization. With my Sigma Arts, the focal length option was grayed out and the IBIS looked smooth, so I assumed it worked. With the electronic ND mount turned on and using the Leicas, I cannot adjust the focal length of my dumb lenses. I was able to give myself the option to adjust the focal length by slightly unmounting the electronic ND, and then I make my changes. For example, I, as an experiment to verify, would set the lens to be 200 millimeters, even though it was a 50 millimeter, to make the footage look like an earthquake. I then left that test thinking that if I just leave it at active steady, the active steady shot seems to be rough at first, but then it seems to kind of correct itself. So in that sense, it seems to just kind of work just fine. I don't know what it's doing camera-wise, internal. It seems to do just fine. Other than that, this adapter does live on the camera ever since I got it. I still have my Tokina Pro IR ND set, and I still use those when the time permits. Also, in a bonus round, if you film your FX6 or FX9 in slow motion activating the electronic ND, you will see that the camera does its own in-camera color correction. Well, that's all I got. I'm real happy with the electronic ND. I'm going to keep it on my FX3 the whole time. It's not going to leave the body. I'm a real fan of it. I hope you found that video very helpful.